Hey guys, Namaskar, back with something interesting. And today it's about the, much talked about war between Iran and US and how we've been, affected by that and how we've fared under the circumstances. But before I go into much details about it, let me just, talk about the current status of the war. And, I think we've been the closest we've been since it started on, getting a peace deal done. I think both US and Iran have come out openly and said, a peace deal is near.
Mr. President, on Iran, how confident are you that there will be a signing this weekend? Because you have come close to sealing a deal, but at the last minute it has fallen apart. And
It'll be soon, maybe this weekend.
And has the Supreme Leader approved this deal, sir?
I understand the answer is yes.
However, tensions in Lebanon is still high. Israel is still attacking Lebanon as we speak. But if both if you look at the statements of both the sides, I think we are pretty close to a peace deal. But you never know, you can never say anything about war until a final statement has comes out, because anything, any moment, anything can happen, and the peace deal may be off for an indefinite period, and that has been, and we've seen things like this, happen before, and you can never. That's why, a war is so chaotic, so uncertain in terms of, how it's going to end, when it's going to end, and, where it's going to end and stuff like that. So, yeah, this has been quite an uncertain war, quite a, sort of chaotic, war. And but what has been certain is that we've been affected by it, we've been hit hard by it. We may not have fought the war, but we've pretty much taken all the bullets of the war, all the missiles of the war, in terms of economic impact that has happened because of the war. Because a lot of our oil that we import comes from that Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has blocked since the war started. And US has also then went on to counter block it, and we really suffered as a result of that. Our economy took a hit. Crude went up, prices of crude oil went up, and we, being a energy efficient country, our economy took a hit as a result. And not just the economy. A few days back we got to know an unfortunate event that 3 of our seafarers lost their lives because of an US attack on a Omani vessel, which was carrying Indian seafarers, and we lost 3 of our guys, which is unfortunate. Even though we never wanted this war, we were never part of this war, but we lost people as a result of that. So that is very unfortunate, and any lives lost in wars is very unfortunate. But this is even more so because those guys were from one amongst us. They were from our country, and so that's a very unfortunate thing. Having said all this, I think even though I've been, if you look at my previous videos, I've been critical of the government and their policies on other things and various other things a lot, and I think but in this case I think we've done well. Under the circumstances we have no other choice but to play it smart. We have to our primary objective has to be to procure oil at the cheapest price, and we've done that, even though we've had to concede a lot of ground in terms of negotiations with the US, but this is wartime. This is a very extraordinary time. This is a very difficult time. So under the circumstances, I think we've done well to ensure that we get oil as cheap as possible, so that our economy doesn't take further hit, and we sort of get by through this time, and sort of just hold on till the war gets over. So, under all these circumstances, I don't think we've done that badly. We've managed it well. We've managed to hold on for so long, and I think with the peace deal being as close as as it seems to be, I think I think we've done well. And as far as there's this ethanol issue is concerned,
वो आज का दिन मेरे लिए भी बहुत खुशी का है कि कल रात को 8 बजे मैंने जो फाइल है उसके ऊपर साइन किया कि 100% इथेनॉल इसके नियम बनकर उसको आज कानूनी रूप से प्रक्रिया देने वाली फाइल पर मैंने साइन की है.
I myself have a car, which is not, which is not compliant with ethanol blend. Even my two-wheeler is not compliant with ethanol blend. But what can we do? I mean, what do we do? Do we sort of cry about this and not make it tougher, or do we just get by? Because if we start blending ethanol, because we have to sort of rely less on importing oil, and it's not just for now, even in future when wars will inevitably happen. So when they happen, and if something like this comes up again, and we are better prepared for that, so I think this ethanol blending may sort of pose difficulty for us in the short term, but I think in a long term it'll really have a good impact on us, as we won't be so vulnerable to a war which is so close to us, which completely sort of takes us by surprise in terms of how we are going to procure energy, for functioning. So I think this is sort of this accepting the ethanol thing, and for us as a countryman is the lesser of the two evils, and I think we should do that instead of just blindly criticizing the government, because there's not much else that the government can do in this situation. And the only thing that we can do is manage our energy, ensure that we have sufficient energy at a good price, so that we can function as a country. We can just hold on for now on, and the progress and the growth and all that can happen after the war ends, so that, and also we can in future sort of plan about how to handle these type of situations better. So I think, going forward, I think things will get better, and we will also do better as an economy and as a country. And I think this war is a big lesson for us, and a big learning curve for us as to how to handle situations like this, how to handle wars which we are directly not part of, but we are probably getting affected the most as a country, and how to handle such extraordinary times, extraordinary situations, maybe try to become more self-reliant, maybe ethanol, maybe even nuclear energy, maybe more green energy, so that we don't have to import much oil from outside, and maybe be more self-sufficient and handle ourselves better. So I think I've explained this as best as I could. If you have anything to say, you can just write your comment down, and till then, like, subscribe. Bye bye and namaskar.